This is the all-new BMW 3 Series Touring. Today, in our full driving review, here on Autogefühl, your #1 resource for in-depth car reviews and your #1 community to discuss cars, with Thomas. Exterior, interior, the practicability of this one, and of course the driving experience will be all today in Full HD, full screen and full length. Let's go! In the front, the new 3 Series has a bigger stance on the road. It's a little bit wider, 4 centimeters wider track in the front. Very interesting. Tanzanite blue is the color here for today. Someone that comes close to a Thomas blue, at least in the brighter shapes. And it also fits very well to this optional laser light. LED standard, then dynamic LED optional, and then the top trim is this laser light here for more high beam. And then you also have those blue accentuations. Pretty interesting. This one here is also an M Sport line. There are different lines, and this one is the sportiest one you can get design-wise, also with stronger bumpers right there. The double kidney is wider than before, but is adaptive as for the air intake to improve the wind efficiency. The camera, by the way, is just placed right here in front because there's also an optional front camera. 4'70", 15'4", or 185 inches is the length of the 3 Series Touring in this generation. Whereas the new sedan has the internal code G20, this one is the G21, and it's more about 8.5 centimeters longer actually, and same length for sedan and the Touring. Touring, of course, with the shape right here that continues in this roof, and the roof rails are standard. Here then also with chrome frame style around the windows. M Sport model. 16 to 19 inch wheels. Those ones here are 18 inch. I think it's a good compromise overall. You know, pretty conservative design they have here. Dropping line here above the door handle. Oh, and really interesting color shades here, definitely from this new paint they have right here. So, and one design element is new. It raises here now a little bit if you compare it to the predecessor generation. So to make it appear a little bit sportier, but definitely, especially the Touring is very conservative in design, not too much changed here if you compare it to the predecessor, but technology-wise, a lot has been done. 25% stiffer from the chassis, for example, and I also have a lower center of gravity. The rear is about 2 centimeters. Why? Well, the track, so the space between both tires, is 2 centimeters wider than in the predecessor version, and also the window in the rear here is 2 centimeters wider. So together with those horizontal tail lamps now, definitely bigger stance on the road. And those are also honest exhaust pipes. Well, the outer ring is beauty, but those are real exhaust pipes indeed. The M Sport here also gets a contrasting lower bumper right there. And overall, this one now looks a little bit more alike to the sedan than before. And one special thing is, of course, how the hatch will open in this two-way split way. We will soon show that to you. So, what's under the hood right here? Interesting, this is a twin power turbo. This one is the big 3-liter diesel with 265 horsepower and xDrive, the all-wheel drive. So 3-liter 6-cylinder and 8-speed automatic gearbox. But there's also the 2-liter 4-cylinder diesel, 150 or 190 horsepower. The latter one then also optional with xDrive all-wheel drive. And then there are petrols, 2-liter 4-cylinder, the 320i with 184 horsepower or the 330i. Optional with xDrive with 258 horsepower. And then there will be the plug-in hybrid, the 330e. That one then based on a 2-liter 4-cylinder engine, but also an electric drivetrain and 12 kWh battery and 60 kilometers of official pure electric range, which will of course be a little bit lower than in a realistic driving cycle. Well, then there's the top model, the M340i, 3-liter 6-cylinder with 374 horsepower. And yeah, this one will not only be available for the sedan, but also here for the estate. So basically, sedan and estate will get the very, very same engines. Yeah, just, you know, when there once will be the next true M3, That will only come for the sedan as usual. Car key with M colors if you have the M Sport model. Keyless entry here, as we know it from BMW. Close it up. There it is, open. Door closing sound, that's quite okay. Then instead of the doors, it's a beautiful two-color setup right there. Then galvanized buttons. And here they really worked on the interior build quality. This all feels so nice and solid. Interior space right there, the inside of the door is also quite reasonable. Optional Harman Kardon sound system is really cool. A lot of speakers and great crisp sound quality. Then you have an M entry badge. And I also like the special floor mats there, which have this bright frame. Then those seats here, different forms available. And in Germany, you start with the fabric seats, I recommend. They stay cooler in summer. And in the US, you usually take the Sensatec leatherette, which is more animal friendly than this setup we see here at the moment. But color-wise, it's very interesting. The M steering wheel, so two steering wheels available. This one, the sportier one. You can get a heated steering wheel optional, and that you can see that the cruise control can be controlled right here. And those are not those rubber buttons anymore. Someone asked for it. Those are now hard plastic buttons, but they feel very good in the quality. So overall, a very stepped up interior build quality. And of course, more digitalization than before. We'll soon find out more about that. Getting inside, in the front, it's the same as in the sedan. So typical mid-size seating position. I'm 1m86 or 6'1". And there's plenty of headroom left if you have not picked the panoramic roof like this. If you pick this one here with 1m86 or 6'1", then this one here stays with the headroom. So limited headroom, a little bit with the panoramic roof, but still, if you're tall, you still get along with it. And come here, you already see here one of my favorite features, those typical BMW wings. This is still a design element, at least in the interior. I just love it, how they designed it. This is the interior overview. It starts with a 5.7-inch screen on the left. Those ones optional 12.3-inch digital instruments. On the right side starts with an 8.8-inch. This one here, the 10.25-inch, the biggest screen, and with the horizontal layout and very well integrated, I think. And then it's very interesting how they frame this one here. There's a decor element. The climate unit is still accessible right here. You can control it while driving quite well. And also a metal knurled volume knob here. The lower area, you can slide that one open. You have the inductive charging platform for your phone and one normal USB charger there, adaptive cup holders, then a converter automatic gearbox, some hotkeys here on the left, for example, also for the camera when the engine is running. And they here still set a turning pressing knob that you can control everything while driving, or have some hotkeys that you can access the map a little bit easier. I think that's a good redundant solution. And for example, you can also use the voice input. At the moment it's still set on German, but we can say, hey BMW, setze die Sprache auf Englisch. So set the language to English, let's see.
Ich stelle die Systemsprache auf Englisch.
So he said, setting the system language to English. And yeah, that way you don't have to search everything in the menu. You can, yeah, this is also here the gesture control. You can just use the voice control and then the search is done basically. So this is a good user case for the new voice input. In those digital instruments, we can at the moment see that one of the rear doors is open and also that the rear glass is open. Quite nice to see. And when you light up the car, it's like this. The RPMs go counterclockwise. Yeah, at first you think, oh my God, really? Oh, nice blue visualization also of our blue car. But then you get used to it and then it makes some space here for the GPS information in the middle part, and that somehow makes sense. Everything is very clear to read. Here the map. You can browse on that here with pinch and zoom, but you can still use the central knob, and that's also good while driving. I like to zoom in and out with the central knob while driving, for example. And so far, the GPS software by BMW never let me down so far. Well, what else? You have the car menu here, for example, and can share some driving information. You can also have those sport displays for the G-forces. Not sure if you use it for 3 Series Touring, I don't know. And then you also have, when you have the Apple CarPlay connection, it is always wireless then, and then you can have the hotkey right there, and there's a very good integration of that. So it uses all space and still remains the hotkeys right there. No Android Auto available. The new panoramic roof covers a wider area, so there's first of all a black shade, and then you can see it's wider than before, definitely covers more, and also goes pretty much over the whole vehicle. And you can also open the front part right here to leave some more fresh air, and especially you feel while driving also how wide that one is. And the head-up display, the speed, the allowed speed, you can scroll through music titles, or and also can get some information about GPS directions. And if you approach the next intersection, it is even more detailed. It's one of the best head-up displays on the market, definitely. And under the armrest, we find the first USB-C charger, so they definitely offer a mix here between the old USB and the new USB for transition. The rear bench, first a clear view here for you. Also very good build quality here, always, on the inside of the doors and so on. But a lot of options with this car, that's the downside. Well, then you see you don't have too much room. There's a big middle tunnel because it's a rear-wheel driven car. In this case, then also all-wheel drive. And let me get inside. Well, you have a little bit more legroom than in the predecessor generation because the car is over a little bit longer, so that works for four tall adults. And even with the panoramic roof, it works because the roof raises to the rear part again, so I can also easily sit here. I can also do that in a sedan, where the roof continues a little bit further straight with the touring, but indeed, difference between sedan and touring seating position in the headroom is not that different. It's really more about the truck. Here you have Isofix at the outside seats for the child seats. You can flip the seats already from here in a 1/3 2/3 split. The alternative to that is the ski hatch for alpine friends here around Munich especially. And then you have this armrest right there with cup hold. They are also adaptive with those rubber lips. And for your comfort, well, you have to squeeze through this middle tunnel. And then there are two more USB-C devices in the rear. Oh, I bet are also optional. Gotta scroll the prices for that. And also the rear climate unit. Yeah, the thing about this car is it's about 50K with the 330D, with the X-Drive and so on, and M Sport. And then you can add so much more extras, and you can not only exceed 70K, even a little bit above that. And then there's the question, of course, for mid-size vehicles, so much money, that's pretty harsh. Oh, and by the way, here close to the window, there's a new design element. That doesn't have any special function. It's just, is it sporty? I don't know. It's just curious. Found that the very first time in the Static Studio preview, and why not? So the cool thing with the 3 Series Touring is still this unique feature that you can open the upper glass, and then you can even control the top sliding here. But it's a little bit, there it is. So you can slide it open like this, but you have to do it back again manually, or you open it completely. So that's possible. And then you can access it here for quickly or something. Pretty cool function still, and one of the unique features. So and then let's close it again to be open the whole hatch. There we are. It's 480 liters for the sedan, 500 here for the touring. Why is it just 20 liters more? Well, because they just measure everything below the cover. Of course, the touring has more space above it when you're not using it and you really stack everything up. But then, of course, it makes sense to secure the inside. For example, with a net you can install. That's a good solution. Then some, luggage inside here to show you that just for display reasons, that all works. And then this is pretty cool new feature. So here you can get this optional. It's not too expensive. Those rubber pads, they raise just a little bit while driving, and then everything is already stuck here quite well due to this rubber material. But then again, when they go up, it gets the trolleys and stuff even more stuck, so they don't fly all around the back of the car. That's actually a very nice idea. This one you can lift up for some more space, and the tire repair kit. This one here in the front. Oh, I got some bottles right and left at the moment. Is just a little bit more space underneath. So that's the reason here. Those ones are blocking, but those nets are also quite practical. And then you can release the seats right there. And I first leave it like this to show you some measurements, because you might remember that sedan It's a little bit limited in the width here, and it's the same here also between the wheel arches. So less than 1 meters between the wheel arches. It's just here that it's a little bit more. Here it's about 1 meters and 20 then. But between the wheel arches, this is kind of disappointing as for the width. The length, the normal one, is about 1 meter right there. And then we can also release the second seat right here. That goes quite well. So a good feature you can pick there. And then the length to the driver's seat, as I would be driving, is about 1 meters and 80. So welcome to Thomas's driving lounge with the BMW 3 Series Touring now. We've been driving the sedan before, and the big question at first is, of course, is there any difference between the feeling of the sedan and the Touring? And I mean, they both have the same wheelbase, it's the same base platform. Of course, a little bit more metal right here, and the sound acoustic might be a little bit different because there's more room on the interior. And yeah, I have to say, maybe the sedan is subjectively a little bit more silent. But I mean, it doesn't make a big difference, and also driving-wise, all the driving dynamics is pretty much the same. Maybe the sedan feels a little bit more sporty, but again, this is nothing which would make a major difference. We have the adaptive suspension inbuilt here. You might remember there's the normal new suspension for this new generation, which has those hydraulic cushions, and that one would be standard, and optional the M Sport, and optional the adaptive suspension here. And the adaptive one is really cool. It delivers a very good comfortable ride, definitely. So we're at the moment here also in a normal comfort mode, and this is really cool. So it evens out a lot of the bumps. It's also one of the reasons they decided against offering an air suspension here in the midsize segment, whereas the Mercedes C-Class, for example, they do offer air suspension in this very segment. Yeah, but I really think that this adaptive suspension does such a good job that you can, really live without an air suspension. And the good thing is, even here in the comfort mode, it some bottle is flying around here, I'm not sure. Where is it? Or is it? Oh, it's my microphone inside. So it's live, authentic Autogefühl. Yeah, so we got to get the microphone out. Now we can do some slalom without any rattling sound. So it was my microphone transmitter inside the middle armrest. So a very good response from the suspension, and you can always go to the sports mode. Then also the suspension stiffens up a little bit. You can feel that. The difference is not like, not worlds, but you definitely feel that you have a little bit more control, a little bit more feeling to the road. The steering setup also changes. So when you are in comfort, for example, steering is very light. I was criticizing in the first 3 Series driving that it has some numb feel here in the low degree areas, and this one has been improved now. So also a good step forward, definitely. So there's something happening right there. And when you are back then in the sports mode, gears are turned up higher, and there's also some little bit more feedback from the steering wheel, but also not too much. So the steering itself, the steering feeling, remains pretty light. And it's also, it's okay, it's nice and progressive, direct, but it's not the most natural feeling. And I found that a little bit better, for example, recently with the BMW 1 Series M135i, for example. But still, you get along very well. It delivers a very good experience, also if you compare it to the competitors. It is also then, even when you don't have a special sports version with this BMW, that you always feel somehow a little bit sportier than some of the competitors, and not sporty in an uncomfortable way, but in a way that you say that it's definitely fun to drive. So suspension setup really good. Steering setup is somewhat okay. Good progressive, but please maybe a little bit more feeling, then it's fine. The engine here is very powerful, 5.4 seconds to 100 kilometers or 62 miles an hour. So this diesel power torque really sets in there. I'm also looking forward to the long-term consumption, because with the 5 Series we had this 3-liter diesel also and could score some very low fuel consumption figures. That was very interesting. And here, of course, with the SCR cleaning then too. There are different assistance systems available. You set them here at the steering wheel. You have the normal adaptive cruise control, which just keeps the distance to the car in front of you. And you have the assisted driving. And that one then also takes the steering when you, for example, when you want to keep the lane. And we can also test it right here as soon as I... No? Obviously, when it's pretty wide overall, then the car might have a problem. It should be better now when there's a more controlled road with a lane left and right directly. Yeah, so very interesting. So that would be rather than the run off-road protection. Now we can also accelerate out of the corner. This one here always comes with the X-Drive, that is the all-wheel drive at BMW, and that means you have also some power on the front wheels. Wow, that kicks in pretty nicely. Also, I think a decent sound. Here, of course, sound actuator is being used. But still, even with the overdrive, it remains with a clear rear-wheel bias, because this is a rear-wheel driven platform still. So it's here rear plus front a little bit on demand. Will more play a role when you are in harsh conditions, in winter and so on. Other than that, you can also live with the pure rear-wheel drive models. Definitely, they will also drive a little bit sportier. This one and here, again, when it's wet, for example, better acceleration. And of course, they are better in the acceleration in general, because you can get more traction to the ground. Then here now driving at about 100 kilometers, the noise insulation is actually quite good. So really nice what they've done here. There is the front insulation from the front glass is standard for the new 3 Series. And option, you can also get an acoustic package for the side window here for both. And this is then an option also equipped with this vehicle and making it even more silent. So that could be a very interesting option, definitely. So now I'm in this assisted driving mode once again, and let's see, I'm steering to the left. Yeah, there it is. There's the counter steering, because now the car sees, there's a one on the, this is Z4 with the camo. Why is there still a BMW Z4 with the camo paint on the road? The car has been released. Unless they're preparing some other version. Maybe an all-wheel drive one or something? I don't know. Or maybe a true M-Z4, not like the M40i. Like a real M-Z4 or that Z4M. We'll keep you updated on that. Maybe we should follow that car and see like, whoa, what's the exhaust? Yeah, but that's too late now. So definitely here underway in BMW country, so we can also see something of that. Very interesting as for that. So, but in normal driving, I usually deactivate this sophisticated driving assistant. It's on motorway driving. It's really cool to be able to relax a little bit more, but when you're cornering yourself and so on, it can be a little bit annoying. Then you can always switch back to the normal cruise control, so you definitely have the choice. The good thing about this diesel is here that because it has so much torque, when you have already picked up speed and then want to accelerate even further, you still have so much power left, and is almost, is totally flawless in that acceleration then, definitely. So this is also in comparison, the petrol engines usually a little bit quicker, from the low RPM regions, and the diesel, due to this higher amount of torque, can really pick up the speed when they have already been on speed. So this is one difference. So the mixed fuel consumption, we had some acceleration in here, some cruise control is so far 7 point something liters on 1 kilometers. That's still somewhat okay, but I would have expected a little bit less, definitely, because I had very good experience with this one here also in the 5 Series. Yeah, well, but we'll also keep you updated up to the conclusion when we've driven the car a little bit longer here. So nice acceleration again, shifts usually above 3,000 RPM. When I go to the sports mode here, I actually am in the sports mode. Yeah, sometimes it's really, you can be mistaken which mode you are. But here, red background for the RPM meters, and the gears are turned up a little bit higher. And there's also the Eco Pro available, then everything turns blue. And this one then reduces the throttle input and also should gain back some energy. This is not a plug-in hybrid, but it has a battery which can recuperate some energy for vehicle consumers. It is somewhat already a mild hybrid system which BMW has been using for quite some time indeed. And, you know, also somehow makes sense. With the Eco Pro, also everything gets a little bit more relaxed, definitely, from the driving experience. But I think, you know, being more relaxed is also one thing if you compare to the predecessor, especially because the noise insulation is definitely better. That's one of the key features. And upgrades in the suspension, especially here with the adaptive suspension, which is also now more upgraded and has a little bit more variety from the sports to the comfort mode. That's also quite interesting. So I'm going back to the sports mode to show you this acceleration now from 70 kilometers to 100. Plop, that's already it. That's, you know, what I meant. So if you have already picked up speed, there is still something coming. And what I feel here with the steering setup, I don't really like it in the sports mode, because in the sports mode it's a little bit more resistance towards the sides, but then the middle setup here from the steering wheel does not change that much. Whereas in the comfort mode, everything is somewhat soft, so to say. So I think that the steering setup in the comfort mode is overall definitely better and more fitting, is more harmonious throughout the whole vehicle. Other assistance systems that are important are, for example, the blind spot monitor. Oh, there's a red traffic light now, but I mean, those red traffic lights at least gives us a chance to be able to accelerate out further from standstill, which is not always possible in traffic. So blind spot monitor, it does not flash when you are stationary here, because then, you know, say, okay, you should watch the traffic anyway. But then there's this triangle at the side mirror, and it flashes then when someone's approaching from the side when you're already driving. I will soon show that. Maybe you have already picked it up at some point. Or we go to sports mode, because then also the start-stop gets deactivated. And well, we can also really show you what this diesel is capable of. Definitely very interesting, because it is quite powerful. And you will see that right now as soon as the traffic light jumps to green. Well, that was 90. That was 0 to 90. Wow. So yeah, that was pretty powerful. And also, you know, for a diesel, a quite nice sound. So performance-wise, nothing to complain about at all. What I will do now is reset the individual consumption value, set the cruise control, and see what can we score when we just have, you know, the cruise control set and don't do, you know, so much acceleration and so on. So I took it very calmly now with a lot of cruise control now over a while, and you can score something around, actually I'm at the moment even a little bit below that, 5 liters or more kilometers. So that confirms the result we had with the 5 Series, and even more interesting that it's somewhat the same, although the 5 Series is a heavier car. So, but the, you know, X works fuel consumption figure that's in the infotainment system, so it's a value that is, oh yeah, the gesture control. So that is over the whole runtime of the car so far, says about 8 liters. So the truth for the realistic figure then will probably be something in between. Yeah, I think, you know, so for this whole equipped car, this is actually quite good. It's also with the all-wheel drive here, so that also boosts the fuel consumption up quite often a little bit. You know, sound is also quite okay. The petrol engines are a little bit more fun from the low RPM areas, so it depends on how many kilometers per year you are running, if the diesel makes sense to you. But definitely in general for the riding, especially the adaptive suspension, is really, really very well done, and the noise insulation, those ones are probably the best upgrades here for the new generation. And again, the touring, also a lot of fun here. They still deliver some driving fun here in this mid-size segment. I think I had a little bit more fun driving the sedan. Yes, again, the difference are not that huge. Maybe it's also something subjective, I don't know. But still, this one here will be the more practical choice, definitely. So if I had the choice between the two of those, yeah, probably I would still go for the touring, because you can just load in things so much easier. Here, by the way, now it's so small birds. You really have to, pay attention to those small birds always. But here, pretty rough road, and the suspension still mastered it really well. But you feel that even in the comfort mode, the whole setup of the suspension is typical for BMW, rather a little bit in a sporty direction than in a floating direction, so to say, like air carpet ride like or something. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed also our touring insight for today. Oh, that was interesting. So they was signaling me a stop sign, and indeed, I didn't expect it to be a stop sign here at this intersection. So that was pretty helpful. Yeah. So again, live on Autogefühl, nice to experience even more assistance systems with this car. And now to our conclusion for today with the all-new BMW 3 Series Touring. Well, first of all, it has a bigger stance in the front, definitely the whole front area, and also more horizontal shape in the rear. The car is a little bit longer than before, therefore also offers a little bit more space on the interior, especially on the back seats. Still, it's more practical than the sedan version, especially customers from Germany and Italy appreciate that. That's where the estate here is the #1 seller inside the 3 Series setup. Interior, they have massively stepped up the build quality to the predecessor generation. That's really cool. And they also have a lot of different materials available for the seats, as I mentioned earlier. Driving wise, it's, I would indeed say it's a little bit different than the sedan. Of course, it's the same platform, same wheelbase. I think the sedan maybe feels a little bit more agile, but that could also just be a subjective issue. But I can just state what I experience here. Might also be an engine choice. We drove the big diesel here today in the touring, where we had the petrol in the sedan. So probably if you drive the very, very same drivetrain once in the touring, once in the sedan, then maybe the driving impression is also more equal to that. But you can still have a lot of fun. It has a good fun driving feeling. The steering could be a little bit more natural in the feeling, but they already worked on that since our very first ride with the all-new 3 Series. So that's good that they responded to that feedback there too. And consumption-wise, as for the diesel, you can score very, very low consumption if you keep it steady with the throttle, but then it also goes up quite easily. But overall, I think it makes sense if you drive a long ways. However, the PHEV version will also be available here for the touring. That could be a very interesting choice, so we will also keep you updated with that. What about you? What do you think about the new 3 Series Touring, and would you go for this one here or rather for the sedan? Please tell us. And if you're also a long-term customer of that one, also share your experience with this one, please. So, also tune into other 3 Series reviews. We'll link them down below. And also we have a lot of the competitors here on our channel. So see you there.